about Yerushalayim. Every single person here, I hope, has been to Yerushalayim. Every single person over here, a little bit, has been inspired by Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is full of magic. It's a very special place. The people there are special. The stones are special. The stories are special. And there you have the Kotel. You have Yerushalayim Merkaj. You have the Kotel. And on the other side, one day we'll have the Beis HaMikdash. So I want to share with you, to get you focused on what I want to teach you today. I have a teacher by the name of Rabbi Moshe Shapiro. Rabbi Moshe Shapiro is, in my opinion, is one of the greatest scholars and teachers and the Kiruv movement as well for the last generation. Some of you may have heard of some of his students who are my friends. Some of you may have heard of, I know, Rabbi Akiva Tatz, or whatever it is, Rabbi Gershenfeld, and all these people. Seems to be that every senior person in Kiruv somehow is connected to Rabbi Moshe Shapiro. One Pesach, I went to visit him with my good friend, Rabbi Yeshua Hartman, Rabbi Josh Hartman. Today he lives in London. And we had just been to Poland, and Rabbi Moshe Shapiro asked us, what did you think when you were in Poland? He asked us, what inspired you? What did you come out with some new ideas? Generally speaking, if you travel with me, I will always tell you, you don't travel just to have fun. You travel because when you travel, you see things in life that you can't see when you're in your home. So I made the following comment to him. I said, Kvod Harav, we just were in a place called Krakow and we were in a place called Prague. And when we were in Krakow, we went into the synagogue, the Beit Knesset, called the Ramah, right? You've been there? The Ramah Shul. We've been to the Ramah Shul. There was a sign, here is where the Ramah prayed. I was there 2 weeks ago, just out of interest. Here, it's a very, very special place. The Ramah, for those of you that are Ashkenazi, which I think is most of you, if you're Ashkenazi, so I'm sorry. But you should know, the genius of the Ramah is that he let Marana Bet Yosef, he wrote the Shulchan Aruch, and the Ramah, instead of writing a new Shulchan Aruch for Ashkenazim, he put his as an addendum, as extra, as a mapa to the writings of the Shulchan Aruch. So that's why Ashkenazim and Sfaradim are together today. It's the most beautiful thing that he did. But he was the greatest leader of Europe at that time then, and we saw the place where he prayed. A few days later, we were in Prague, and I prayed in the synagogue of the Maharal of Prague. Anyone been there? The Altneu Shul? And there also is the place where he actually davened. I said to my Rebbe, when I was at that place where the Ramah used to daven, and at the place where the Maharal used to daven, I felt so connected to these people. I felt a deep connection to the Maharal. I felt a deep connection to the Ramah. So why is it that I live in Yerushalayim Kodesh? I live in Jerusalem. I go to the Kotel. What happened at the Kotel? Let's think about it. The Kotel is where the Beis HaMikdash was, is where the world was created. The world was created from the Beis HaMikdash. What else happened here? Help me. Okay, what do you have over there? Noach brought a carbon there. Adam HaRishon brought a carbon. Avram Avinu did the Akedah, right? The Akedah happened there. Yaakov had his dream. This is the place that David HaMelech bought this land and Shlomo HaMelech built the first Beis HaMikdash. Where the Hanukkah story happens. It's where the Churban Bayis Rishon, the Churban Bayis Sheni, the Aliyah L'Regal, millions of Jews coming here throughout the last 2,000 years. The Orach Chaim HaKodesh there, with the Ramban was there. So many miracles, so many stories. This is Yerushalayim, the Kotel. So how come at the Kotel I don't feel the same feeling that I have when I'm in Prague and in Krakow? So you know what I expected him to say? You get used to things. It's not what he said. He said something that will change my life because I live in Yerushalayim. My son over there, Yaakov Yisrael, he also lives in Yerushalayim. He grew up there. That's all he knows. He grew up in Yerushalayim. What he told me gave me a new perspective of what it means to live in Yerushalayim HaKodesh. And I quote, he said, when you look directly into the sun, you see nothing. Say that in Spanish.
Cuando miras al sol de frente, no ves nada.
There we go. I knew it would sound better in Spanish. It's incredible, incredible. You live in a place where the light is so strong, so you need to put on dark glasses to be able to pick up on anything. It's too intense. It's too intense. So I want to explain to you what he said a little bit deeper. It's interesting. Because of this story, I'm writing a book this summer. I'm 3/4 through it about my rabbi, and I'm naming the book Looking into the Sun. It's going to be published by Art Scroll, and that's the name of the book is based on this story that I just shared with you. The point I want to make is that I go to Yerushalayim. I'm very biased. I love Miami. I really do. I love the vibe. All right. I love Cuban hip hop. Okay. I can even do salsa if I had to. But the point is that, by the way, I'm just joking. Those listening on Torah anytime, I'm just joking. You should just know that nothing compares to the beauty of Yerushalayim. 10 portions of beauty were given to the world. Yerushalayim took 9. But now I want to say to you something that's a little powerful. When we see the beauty of Yerushalayim, we're not seeing a taste of what Mashiach's going to do when he unleashes the true power of Yerushalayim. It's going to be that we're going to realize that we are looking into the sun, and it's going to be that we will have the ability to look into the sun, similar to what it is that one day we can look at Moshe Rabbeinu under the mask. You understand? We could not see Moshe Rabbeinu's face under the mask because the light was too strong. The beautiful light was too strong. I want to share with you a statement from the Talmud. The Gemara brings down that every woman in this world, her beauty is like a monkey compared to the beauty of Sarah. Sarah Imenu was the wife of Abraham Avinu. And then it says the beauty of Sarah is like a monkey compared to the beauty of Chava before the Chet. Chava is a beautiful name, right? My mother's name as well. Chava before the sin. What does that mean? What does it mean? What is a monkey? A monkey imitates a human being. Okay, you think it's a human being. It's not a human being. It's an imitation of a human being. The same way, exactly the same way, the beauty of Yerushalayim is an imitation of what it's going to be like when we see the real thing. I just want to share with you something fascinating. If you look at someone that you love, you'll see that obviously the people that you love, you see them, you see beauty. But the nature of beauty is that beauty passes. As you get older, our bodies, they go, happens to the best of us, except for one thing, is the eyes. The beauty of eyes never changes. Those of you that married, okay, when your husband looked into your eyes under the chuppah, if he looks into your eyes on your 90th birthday, the beauty, which means the ayin, lashon ma'ayan, something deep down inside, that stays. Why? Because the beauty of eyes is spiritual. Ayin milashon ma'ayan. It is a connection to something that is higher, something that is beyond. So Hashem gave us our eyes to remind us that there's a beauty from beyond. Yerushalayim has that beauty. The whole thing is going to be that beauty like the sun. The beauty like the eyes is going to be our whole body. Our whole body is going to be that way. Our whole body is going to shine. Let's say Shabbat, you look at your fingernails. The idea is the fingernails, you put them in front of the fire, they shine. To remind you that one day your whole body is going to be like that. The whole body is going to be that beauty. That beauty that you will have, that beauty is kakuf, like a monkey now, compared to your future beauty. That's going to be the beauty of Yerushalayim or HaKodesh. I saw this last time, 3 a.m. So this is all new stuff I'm sharing with you. The Arotvash, one of the great rabbis, Yonis Neibishit said, he said that we say before Birkat HaMazon, Eshivat Zion hayina kecholmim. He says, when we go back to Zion is Yerushalayim, it's going to be like a dream. It's going to be like a dream. He says a dream is 1/60th of death. Okay, you disconnect 1/6 of death. He says, when we go back to Yerushalayim, the beauty of today, we will realize is 1/60th of the true life that Yerushalayim is going to have. You and I cannot understand how beautiful it's going to be because you and I is like a blind person trying to understand a beautiful painting. All we can do is understand these things from afar. We can taste it a little bit, like I mentioned the eyes, mentioned the fingernails, to try and imagine what it means, the true beauty of Yerushalayim that is going to come out. Now, that's my introduction. Every day we ask that we want to see that Yerushalayim. Right? Our eyes should see this beauty of Yerushalayim. So how do we do it? We say a blessing. And this blessing, if you can just take one moment, can I have my own copy? Okay, thank you very much. Gracias. Look at this, okay? So got your little copy over here. Regresa con misericordia at Jerusalem. Okay, so beautiful. Yerushalayim Ircha bracha mitashim. I want to ask a bunch of questions on this blessing. Some of you have said it since you were little girls. And you look at the questions, and I'm going to give one big answer, and everything is going to fit in almost identical. The first thing is that this blessing seems to be talking about Hashem, we want you to build a city called Jerusalem, like we spoke about. Why does Hashem need a city? Then build a Beit HaMikdash. What do you mean he needs a city? Yerushalayim Ircha, you have a city. Yerushalayim is your city, Hashem. What does it mean to have a city? I mean, I could also ask, what does it mean Hashem needs a country? Eretz Yisrael is Hashem's country. What does it mean? So we're going to see in a moment, what is a city all about? Another question. If you have a look, the way the blessing unfolds, it ends up by talking about a kisei. Look at the very end. It says, "B'kisei David Abdecha meher betucha tachin." King David has a established el trono de David, right? El trono, it's a throne, right? El trono. So this is something. Why do you need a throne? Who cares about a throne? What is a throne all about? It's like I mean, king has a throne, but why is this something that we care about? That we want King David to have a throne? Another question. If you have a look at the way that the blessing is structured, you'll notice there's 4 phrases. Number 1, Yerushalayim Ircha bracha mitashim tishkon betocha kasher dibarta ubekisei David abdecha mehira betocha tachin ubnei ota bekarov biyameni binyan olam. There's 4 steps. So each step, obviously, something new is happening. I'm not going to lie to you. This question has been bothering me that I'm 60 years old. And I never really thought, I knew that at some point I want to give this class. At one point, I want to explain why there are 4 steps in this blessing. Another question, why do we say David HaMelech in this blessing and then David HaMelech in the next blessing? Here we say Kisei David Abdecha. The next blessing is Tzerach David Abdecha.
Do you mind just translating the phrases? Not everyone wants Hebrew.
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. Well, actually, that's why we've got the translation over here. Okay, so all I want to point out is that this blessing is made out of 4 parts. What I'm going to teach you in a moment, that each part represents a different step, a different stage. We'll go through them together, and as I read you each phrase, we're going to understand deeply what they're all about. The final question is, what does it mean? Baruch atah Hashem bonei Yerushalayim. Benedito eres tu Adon, que reconstruye Jerusalem. There we go. So the last part is boneh. Boneh in English means he is now building Jerusalem. He is now, it's what's called in the active sense. How do you say active sense in Spanish? Presente. Okay, it's not the past, it's not the future, it's in the present.
And it's not passive. It's
exactly.
Building.
So how do we see that he's building Jerusalem right now? What exactly does this mean? So those are the questions I want to answer. Let's just go over the questions very, very quickly. The first thing is just a general on the question. Why is it that there's a whole blessing to ask Hashem about his city? Why does God need a city? You don't need a city. Hashem, you just need to bring Mashiach, make everyone religious and live happily ever after. Number two, what exactly does it mean that the city has to have a throne? What exactly is that all about? The third thing is to go and understand why there are 4 steps in the blessing. The fifth question that we ask is, what does it mean, Bonei Yerushalayim? Hashem is presently building Jerusalem. I have one more question I want to ask you. What is the opening letter of this blessing? Vav. Vet Yerushalayim. Vet Yerushalayim. And. As you say in English, right? I see and in Spanish. Exactly. Say, here's my question. No other blessing has this Vav. And Vav is called in Hebrew Vav HaChibor. It's a connecting Vav. It's connecting to something. I see myself and my son. Ani va, eventually. Okay, Vav is Chibor, is connection. So the Vav HaChibor is connected to something. There's obviously something going on behind the scenes when it says the Yerushalayim Ircha. So there's a bunch of answers, right? There's a bunch of answers. I want to give you, everything I'm giving you now is what I studied last night and what I enjoyed. I want you to know that what I teach you is what I teach you. You find what works best for you. If you don't like this class, that's fine. You find an alternative. But it's important, it's very important, if you're going to pray to God so many times in your life, you make a calculation. If you pray one prayer a day, 5, 10, 15 minutes, every day it adds up. And over the months, and over the years, and over the decades. It needs time to go in and understand, what am I saying? How do I connect to it? I'll tell you another little secret. The way you feel now about this blessing could be different at a different stage in your life. You are evolving, and the way you relate to God is evolving. Just like those of you that are married, so you go through stages in your marriage. By the way, the best part of marriage is if you have a great marriage, it just gets better. It's like a good wine. So, but it's a different type of a relationship, the way it goes. Some of you may have heard of Rabbi Wallerstein. And so the last conversation I had with him is he had all his kids out the house. I have 2 kids left behind. And he said to me, if you have a great marriage, just you and your wife, it's heaven. It's a crazy thing. Then he added something about if you have a bad marriage, I'm skipping that. And now I started telling my students to think about something crazy. And that is, when you look at a guy, you want to get married. Stop and think of it. Most of your married life, you're going to be grandparents. Most of it is very simple mathematics. You see, you become a parent when you're 25. You become a grandparent when you're 50. You're not planning to die when you're 75. Right? This is it. So you got your grandparents. So look, this person, imagine with a stomach and his hair is disappearing. If you got a good marriage, you got everything. So the Vav, the Yerushalayim Ircha, is the Vav HaChibor. Comes along the Bach. The Bach is buried in Krakow, which is mentioned that he's buried in Krakow. The Bach, one of the great rabbis, commentation on the Torah, one of the great rabbis, he said the Vav HaChibor over here is referring to the following idea. We all know that Yerushalayim is only Yerushalayim because, finish the sentence. Because of what? Because of Tzion, the Beit Mikdash. In other words, he says, this blessing is a code name for the Beit Mikdash. Hashem returned the Yerushalayim, the city of the Beit Mikdash. He proves it. I don't know if you know this. Today, no one says this blessing, but once upon a time, people who were in a hurry, they used to say a blessing called the blessing of what's called all 13 blessings were combined together. It's called in Hebrew, Havinenu. It's basically, no one does it anymore, but it means instead of saying 13 blessings in the middle, there's one long one that connects everything. And there, the words that you say, and I quote, you say, here we go. It says, V'yismechu tzadikim b'binyan irecha o b'tikon hechelecha, which means that Hashem wants the righteous to enjoy the building of your city and the fixing of your Beit HaMikdash. So somebody says to you, why don't we have a blessing for the Beit HaMikdash in our prayers? The Bach says we do, because the city is the excuse to talk about the Beit HaMikdash. Why do we focus on the city? So now I'm going to say to you the big idea, right? This is really the big idea. Why do we want the Beit HaMikdash? Why do we need Mashiach to come? Why do we need the Geula? Why do we need the redemption, whatever you call it, the redemption? What are we looking for over here? We're looking that there should come a time when a man called Mashiach Tzidkenu is going to fix the world. And to fix the world, he needs a base. And this base is going to connect to the four corners of the world so that every single part of the world will be connected to this base. Which means that Mashiach is going to be a king. A king needs a throne. What does a throne do? A throne, when you guys are sitting, you're connected to this room. When I'm standing, I'm not connected to this room. I could be walking on the way to the pool. But when you sit, you are connected to something. King has a throne, because from the throne, he connects to his palace. And from his palace, he doesn't connect to his country. He first connects to his city, and I'll tell you why. If this home, this beautiful home that you have, Chava, this is gorgeous. If this home was in the middle of the swamplands here in South Florida, it was out there in the Everglades, this home would not be a home. It could be something as a farmhouse. You have a farm that has a house. But what makes this home a home is this home is connected to a community. And the community together creates a city. Mm-hmm. So Mashiach, his home needs a city, because through a city, he connects to the four corners of the world. So the Beit HaMikdash and Yerushalayim is the way that you connect to Miami and to Londra, or to London and to Melbourne and Tokyo and Caracas. Every corner of the world is connected through Yerushalayim and the Beit HaMikdash. I just think, just to give you another way of looking at it, one of the great rabbis, he was actually mentioned Barcelona, he actually lived in Barcelona, the Rashba, Rosh Ben Aderet. He said that the Beit HaMikdash is Shabbat b'makom, and Shabbat is the Beit HaMikdash b'zman, which means the world is created on time and space. So Shabbat has 6 days, and today is Thursday. Thursday gets its spiritual energy from last Shabbat, and also a little bit from the Shabbat that's coming. Both are true. Shabbat gives in the 6 directions. I can't explain this to you now, but the great rabbis tell us that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday correspond to the 6 directions. The Beit HaMikdash corresponds to the 6 directions, also to the 6 days of the week. They're connected. One is time and one is space. You all know that Shabbos is Kodesh, right? Shabbos is holy. The holiness of Shabbos, we don't lose it. We pass it on through Havdalah. We pass it on to the 6 days of the week. Mashiach is going to build the Beit HaMikdash. He's going to have the home is going to extend through the city to all four corners of the world. When we ask for a prayer for a city, what we're really asking for is, Hashem, we want you to build a place where everyone can connect to you. Mashiach is nothing more than your messenger. That's all he is. Just want you to know that if you ask me, Rabbi Nissa, what's the job of Mashiach? Some of you, without realizing, you don't realize that you think like a Christian. I'm not saying this to you to be negative. I just gave my class over there just now in Shari Bina. I spoke about Mashiach. When I said Mashiach is married with kids, people say, what? Mashiach is married? Yeah, this is wrong religion. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a man who's married with kids. He's a rabbi, like Moshe Rabbeinu. What is his job? His job is to take every single one of you and to show you how you can be the most perfect person you can be, in harmony with everybody else, like a conductor. He shows you how to play an instrument and how to play in harmony with everyone else. To have that influence, he first needs a home and a city. I don't know if any of you, this is not the crowd. Anyone ever heard of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit?
We are too old.
Well, okay.
No, we're not too old. I heard of it. But
It
I've
was
seen it in my kids' room.
Rabbi Nito, it was written before you were born. Tolkien was a British fellow. You know, it's the opening story. The opening story is about this hobbit that goes and helps the dwarves get their home back. And they ask him, why are you putting your life in danger for us? Right? And he said, I know what it means, a home. He was a person that was in love with his home. A home, casa, right? Mi casa tu casa is something special. There's something beautiful about a home. Mashiach has a home so that he can influence and change all four corners of the world. It's the most incredible thing. So now, with this in mind, comes along the Bach and tells us one more thing. How this has become Hashem's home. Vav, what's it Vav? Vav Achibor. So he tells us that the Yerushalayim over here is connected to the Yerushalayim above. You and I can't see it, but this world parallels a higher world. There's a thing which is called in the Talmud, Yerushalayim Shel Mala, the higher Jerusalem. It's a little bit, you feel it when you go to Yerushalayim, you see all these holy people. You realize there's a Jerusalem above. Yerushalayim Shel Mala is where Hashem begins his journey down over here. A little bit, I'm looking at the clock over here. It's very hard to explain everything, how everything fits in with everything else. But Yerushalayim Shel Mala is a big deal. Yerushalayim Shel Mala is the heavenly Jerusalem. And I have over here a quote from the Ramchal, Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, and he said, you should know that Yerushalayim Shel Mala was never destroyed at the time of the Second Temple. Titus, the great Roman, he destroyed the lower Jerusalem, but the higher Jerusalem is waiting once again to be re-energized and connected and brought down into this world. Now comes the part where I'm going to have to translate everything, because we're going to go together through the four phrases of this blessing, and we're going to see a journey that we hope will happen very, very quickly. Yerushalayim Ircha Barachamim Tashuv. Okay, I guess let me stop pretending I can read Spanish. To Jerusalem, your city. That means the one upstairs. Barachim, with tremendous mercy, Tashuv. We want you to be fully invested in the higher Jerusalem. That is called step one. Step one is we're asking God to go back completely and totally into what's called the higher Jerusalem. V'tishka b'socha kasher dibarta. And then you should live in it, but not anyway. Kasher, the way you explain things. Says the Ramchal, Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, means that when you live fully in the Jerusalem that's above, so then you connect it to the Vav HaChibor, to the Jerusalem below, which means that at the moment now, the two Jerusalems are disconnected. The second step, first Hashem comes in here. The second step is he fills in the gap. So the lower Jerusalem and the higher Jerusalem are one and the same. Just to give you, to sound a little bit, make sense to you. At the moment now, every single person in this room has a body and has a soul. But you don't see my soul. Maybe a little bit in my eyes, you see that I have a soul. But you know intellectually I have a soul. But you don't feel they're connected. A little bit is true. The soul, when people pass away, when people die, we say the soul stays with the body a little bit. It's not the real thing. When my soul and my body are 100% without any disconnection, so my whole body is going to shine, like when you look at your fingernails on Saturday night. When the Yerushalayim Shel Mala and Yerushalayim Shel Mata are connected, the whole of Yerushalayim is going to shine. It's going to be something of incredible, incredible beauty. The nearest we ever had this was when King Solomon built the first temple. I don't know if you have to take this literally, but it says there was so much beauty at that point then. He says the streets of Jerusalem were filled with gold. I don't know if you have to take this literally. He says people would bend down and say, I can't be bothered. It wasn't worth their while. There was so much wealth and richness. And this is a metaphor, right? The idea is that it wasn't worth your while to bend down to pick up gold because there was so much beauty and so much shefa, so much abundance in Yerushalayim. So that's stage 2. Stage 3 is what I want to talk about. Stage 3 is V'chisi David Abdecha, that's stage 3, V'chisi David Abdecha, Mehera B'tucha Tachim. The next step is that King David is David HaMelech. David HaMelech, he first needs a home. He needs a throne. So what you need to do is to physically have King David in space so that he can put together what we call the physical dimension, something that we can connect to, so that everything can fall into place. How's that going to happen? David HaMelech is going to connect everything. That's the last thing. And then build it speedily in our days, a wall, a binyan, a building that is forever and ever. So King David is going to connect everything and turn this place called Jerusalem into something that can reach out to the four corners of the world. Now I want to get to the main part of the class. This is the only part that I'm really excited about. Till now it was a little technical, but now I'm going to see something that's so beautiful. I'm so excited to teach this to you. I really am. I found last night, I was looking at my notes on the words biyamenu. What does biyamenu mean? In our days. In our days. The word is extra. What does it mean in our days? There was a great rabbi. His name is Naftali Mirapshitz. He was one of the great students of the Chos of Lublin. Also, if you were in Poland, and whatever, he had many, many famous students. He's the most famous of all. Someone that I feel connected to is Reb Chaim of Sons. Doesn't make any difference. The Hungarian blood is all connected to these great rabbis. Listen to me. He says, "B'kar b'yameinu b'nyalam." He says, "Al yedei hayamim shalanu." Our days are going to build the final Beit Mikdash. And then he explains what he means. And now I want to share with you something. Now I'm talking directly to every single one of you. How do we build the third Beit Mikdash? The answer is very simple. Every single one of you is connected to a home. Whether it's your home or your parents' home, you have a place called a home. Unless you're Harry Potter and you live under the staircase. You have a home. What does it mean, a home? Everyone has a home. A home means that we're all builders. When you say to a young couple, I want you to build Bayit Ne'eman B'Yisrael, a faithful home in Jerusalem. It doesn't mean a beautiful home physically. It means you're building something spiritual. So Naftali Mirapshitz is teaching us the following thing, that you and I are people that are building homes. Each home corresponds to another brick in the walls of the future Jerusalem. King David, his job is to connect all the homes and make it one. With his throne, he's going to make Jerusalem into a palace that can hold the Beit HaMikdash, that can affect the whole world. But the key to making this happen is one Jewish home, another Jewish home, a third Jewish home. This is something that is continuous. How do we build Jerusalem? Baruch atah Hashem bonei Yerushalayim. There's a continuous journey of building that you and I are doing right here in Aventura, wherever we are, whatever this is called. I'm not exactly sure, whatever this neighborhood is called. We build homes, home after home after home. That home becomes the home of Jerusalem. This is something, God willing, next time you go to Sheva Bracha and you want to speak, this is what you should tell the young couple. The Gemara, the Talmud says, Barachot 6b, quote, Hamasamcho, if you want to make a young couple happy, if you really make them happy, this is what you've done. Kilo, quote, Bana churba achas, you make a unique home, mechurbas Yerushalayim. From the destroyed Jerusalem, you're turning into the new Jerusalem. Every young couple build a home. If you make them happy, so you're helping them build a little taste of what it means, the future Beis Hamikdash, a little taste of the future Jerusalem, a little taste of what it means, V'chisi David Avdecha Mehera Tatzmiach. Everything that we do is actively right now, we're building those homes as we speak. Do you remember how I began my class? I told you a story about the Otto Palace. Do you remember there was a guy called Norman who was the ambassador, the big tzaddik, Norman Eisen. He gets up, remember his hands were shaking? And he says to me, he says to everyone, I want to make a toast. What kind of toast do you want to make? He says, does anyone know anything about the palace that we're in, this beautiful home? So I'm like a big mouth. I get up, I says, yeah, sure, Mr. Ambassador, this is the Otto Palace. It was built by Otto 200 years ago. And in the 1950s, it was a place, a flashpoint during the Cold War. He says, no, Rabbi. What was this place during the Holocaust? I don't know. Wikipedia didn't say anything. He says, let me tell you what this place was. This was the residence of the Gestapo. This is where a lot of the decisions were made. He says, this room that we're in now, this table, is very, very likely where the decision was made to build a concentration camp called Theresienstadt. Where my grandparents went to. That's what he said. My grandparents were there. And from there, most of them ended up in Auschwitz. This was a place, those of you who saw the movie, I don't know if you saw the movie, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Placed a lot of evil things. There's a lot of Jewish blood in this room. When Lindsay and I moved in here, he said, for the first month, we couldn't sleep. We had nightmares. Imagine sleeping in such an evil place. Imagine sleeping in a place where your old ancestors could have been tortured. We couldn't sleep. One day, my wife says to me, he says, we can't live like this. We have two choices. Either we go back home or we turn this house into a house that is a house of beauty, a house of Torah. Let's look for the first opportunity of a religious group. Invite them. Let's make a Friday night meal. Let's get them all together and let's make something spectacular. Then we'll take the evil and turn it into light. We are going to turn that evil into light. At this point now, he starts to get very emotional. And we started to get into the mood. It was a very beautiful moment. A lot of people were crying. He says, my dear friends, tonight is that night. Tonight we sang. Tonight we prayed. Tonight we made a Jewish meal. We're cleansing the walls of the evil. We're turning it into something beautiful. I'm such a big mouth. I said, Rabbi, I said, Ambassador, do you mind if I make a rabbinical comment? Okay, what do you want to say? I said, for years and years and years, I had a question. The moment that Queen Esther had the Purim story was over, Haman, the evil Haman, was already hung. His sons were hung. The moment that she had an opportunity, she told Mordechai, move in to the house of Haman. I don't know, I'm sure the people in this room that suffered from Hitler, they suffered from Hitler. Imagine I said, move into the house of Hitler. He says, what? Rabina Eloko, what is your problem? There's no way it's happening. This is the genius of Esther. You don't conquer evil with evil. You conquer evil by turning the evil into something beautiful. Now stay with me. The Jewish people were born in homes. The Jewish people were created on the night of Pesach. The night of Pesach, every Jew had to be inside a home. It wasn't enough just to be Jewish like the other planet. You had to be inside a home. Because while God was destroying evil, we were creating the Jewish home. Now we want to build the final Jewish home. We want to build Yerushalayim, the Beis Hamikdash. How on earth are we going to do it? And the answer is found in this room. Because every single one of you has to leave this house and say, I want to build Yerushalayim. I want to be a Bonei Yerushalayim. How do you do that? There's two things. Number one is to look at this prayer. I want you to say at least once, this prayer should be a little bit different. A little bit to feel, if you can't shed a tear, just feel the pain. That what we have now, our beautiful Jerusalem, is 1/60th of the Jerusalem that we want to get to. It's like a monkey compared to the true beauty that we're supposed to be having. It's missing. Our world is so full of problems. I'm not going to drive you crazy, but since I landed in Miami, all I hear is the problems of children. In my spare time when I'm not teaching, last night I went to a special place. These kids had gone through hell and back, and they're telling me their stories. It doesn't have to be that way. A lot of it's mistakes that parents make. How do you build a home? What does it mean to build a Jewish home? What does it mean to build a Beis HaMikdash in your own home? The answer is very simple. Number one, you build walls. Those walls have to protect your children and your family from what's going on the outside. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the outside world. They want to bring in concepts that are against the Torah. Thousands of years we fought about it. Today, with a little help of these things, God help us, right? These things over here, there's no walls. Your kids have access to every single gutter that exists in this world. But I'm going to tell you now, you're not going to succeed. You can't fight it unless inside the house, like I said, misamcho, you have to make the person laugh. You have to make the person happy. You must make your home a home of joy and a home of happiness. There cannot be tension inside your home. For every one portion of filters on your internet, you need 9 portions of laughter and joy and excitement. You have to figure out how your kids are excited to be at your Shabbat table. You have to figure out how your kids want to be at home. One secret I know you all have, guys know how to cook. This is a very simple method, but it has to be also that way. The kid walks into the home, there's no tension. It's a place of laughter, of smiling. Every single problem, it's gonna work. Mañana, okay, we'll figure this thing out, okay? It's not the end of nothing, it's no big deal. Nothing in life is worth really, really getting upset about. Except maybe this, that we need Yerushalayim. All the tension that you have with people. You can figure this out. Your kids should not know about it. Your kids shouldn't hear the word money in your house. Your kids should hear the word responsibility. That's a good word. Caring about your fellow Jew. Making an honest decision. Well, not money. We don't worship money. Money is just a tool. It's like toilet paper. This is what my father taught me. What is important is responsibility, is caring about each other. Is doing what we can to make the world into a better place. You shouldn't feel pressure in the house. The house should be a home full of joy and laughter and good times. And then you can build walls that protect you from the outside. At that moment, you can say to Hashem, right? The words is, we are building those walls. In the zechut, in the merit of those walls that we are building, we should be able to have Yerushalayim Kodesh, and everything should be built. So I wanna finish off with a quote, and with this quote we end the class. The Talmud says, "Tanit Heyom Aleph Lo Avod Yerushalayim Shel Mala Ad She'avod Yerushalayim Shel Mata," which means I cannot go to the higher. I cannot do step 1 until you do step 4. What does that mean? Hashem says, I'm waiting for my children here in South Florida to build houses the way it's supposed to be. There's a certain point when Hashem's going to see, okay, my children get it. Now I can start the process. And from that process, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, number 1, Hashem goes upstairs, he connects it down, King David, Amalek comes in, and we give him the bricks, and he turns and unleashes the next blessing, which is the blessing of Mashiach that's going to change the world. We should all be together as we join with the laughter of grandchildren and children and to greet the Melech HaMashiach. Thank you so much. Gracias. Thank you. Taking this with me.
Stop the recording.